I love science fiction and horror movies my whole life. And I always loved the premise of the Planet of the Apes. Is everyone familiar with Planet of the Apes? And I've been living in the United States, especially in the last decade. It started to feel like the country was being taken over by almost like another species of human, or something was happening, and it was very difficult to wrap my head around what was happening in my home country. The government was changing, and this culture was changing, and it was becoming intensely violent and oppressive and nationalistic and racist. And Leah and I have continued to make monster stories for years together, and especially the last few years we've really been doing a lot of work, and we talk about this idea very often of good monsters and bad monsters. Does this make sense? Like, and also for fun, we just love monsters. Like, all the monsters are fun. Like werewolves and ghosts and demons and sea creatures, mythology, Greek mythology, Russian mythology, Japanese mythology, Native American mythology. It's doing so good. So all of this comes together with me and Leah going, what about a story where the humans are slaves and food, and the monsters have taken over? And there's bad monsters, there's good monsters, and they're fighting to control the land. Survival, identity, humanity, empathy, all ideas that we could put into this story through also the lens of this crazy evolution that's been happening in the United States. Now, ultimately, I don't believe the United States is the only fucked up country in the world right now. I think most of them are pretty fucked up, to be honest. And I think that that's why this story is global. Ultimately, the Kingdom of Earth is not just about the United States, it's about the whole world. But the beginning story that you'll read is North America. You're going to do all that?
Ellos hicieron amigos en 2008.
So now I'll leave. I'm going to go shopping.
Se hicieron amigos, creo que la mayoría entendéis lo que ha dicho, pero por si acaso, se hicieron amigos en 2008, se conocieron en Chicago, le eligieron gracias a ella, porque ella te eligió a ti para que fueras actor en una película que tú estabas produciendo.
Perdón.
Gil and her.
Okay. Esta persona la llamamos famous. Y bueno, siempre les ha gustado mucho el planeta de los simios, y ellos cuentan que en la última década de Estados Unidos parece que ha sido tomado también por otra raza alienígena, el planeta ha sido cambiado, ha cambiado la cultura de la gente, parece que nos han invadido gente nacionalista, racista, muy intolerante. Y a Leah y a él, a David, siempre han gustado mucho las historias de monstruos. Y se les ocurrió una historia que tuviera buenos monstruos y malos monstruos. A ellos les gustan todos los monstruos. Los hombres lobos, los fantasmas, los demonios, las criaturas marinas, la mitología latinoamericana, japonesa, y entonces, bueno, con esas influencias de todos los monstruos que les gustaban, quisieron hacer una historia a raíz de este contexto de Estados Unidos. Una historia en la cual los humanos no son libres, sino que son esclavos, son ganado, son comida de estos monstruos, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, pusimos esa historia bajo la lente de una persona en Estados Unidos Pero Estados Unidos no es el único país jodido del mundo. Hay muchos más países que están jodidos ahora. Entonces, por eso Kingdom Hearts es una historia global, no es una historia de Estados Unidos, sino que es una historia que afecta a todos. No, I want to ask Leah, your career as a writer and doing scripts and for comics or cinema. What's your biggest influence? Do you like, as David said, you like a lot of monsters, but how do you come with the idea of becoming a writer and becoming an artist?
I think for me, I've always loved stories. And I grew up with a pretty bad reading disability, so books were very hard for me. So I got to see movies and TV shows, and then when I learned about comic books, it was kind of a stepping stone to start reading because it was not as intimidating. It was pictures on a page that I could make the story in my head. So I think at a young age I was reading comics, and I got a lot of inspiration by kind of filling in the gaps of the word bubbles, but then what I also wanted to put into the story. And I think just in acting, and I would do improv acting as well, it's all kind of based on your partner and the person that you're working with a lot of the times. And David is such a wonderful, good, adequate. We have such a, I call it like a hive mind, because we think so similarly with one another. And I'm not complimenting.
I'm just saying our brains
You're like, more. He's very good. And so I think because we work really well together, it encourages us, just even when we're not physically writing, we're always kind of building stories and worlds together. But yeah, the love of story, the love of making people fall into a world that's been in your head for so long is something really special. I've always loved. Yeah.
Bueno, a Leah cuando era pequeña le costaba mucho leer, tenía problemas cuando era pequeño, entonces en vez de leer lo que ella era, leía películas, leía series, leía cómics, que para ella no eran intimidantes como leer un libro. Y ya de joven ella le gustaba crear historias, y cuando leía historias iba rellenando los huecos de las cosas que no se contaban, y a raíz de eso iba creando historias. Aparte ella es actriz, pero era great actress, y hacía improvisación, y dice que cuando haces improvisación dependes mucho del actor con el que estés interpretando. Y dice que en este caso pues tiene la fortuna de estar con David, que dice que es genial, y luego dice que es mediocre. y trabajan muy bien juntos, que tienen una especie de mente colmena, que piensan lo mismo, y a raíz de eso trabajan muy bien juntos, han creado muchas historias y mundos juntos, y les encanta trabajar juntos. David, I wanted to ask you now, because to be honest, most of the people know you not for being a writer, a comic writer, but for being an actor. And I wanted to ask you, you have done theater in the past, street theater too, you have done that. He also has an amazing YouTube channel called The Conversation, when he actually interviews people while you are in a coffin. Entrevista a gente metida en un ataúd. Yeah, it's your style, but I did.
Sí.
So, you have been. So, you're an actor, but also a comic writer. When you're an actor, you have to deliver the script that you receive from the director or the cast. But when you write a comic, you are the actual person inventing the story and designing the ideas. You are more David when you write a comic than when you are an actor. And if that's so, do you prefer writing a comic and imagining a story that you've been acting in another people's idea?
I think about this a great deal, because sometimes when I get cast in someone else's idea, which is most of my life, has been bringing to life someone else's ideas. And it started for me in the theater, with Shakespeare, Edward Albee, or Greek classics. Like, I was taking an idea that someone else had created, and the characters someone else created, and manifesting it. And somewhere along the way, I came to the realization that bringing David into this equation was one of the most beautiful, magical parts of the tradition that is acting, as opposed to, say, you cast me as the Joker and going, oh, well, Jack Nicholson did it so good, I'm gonna try and do what he did. No, there's a reason. You have to trust, you have to have this kind of insane, audacious confidence or belief in what you do to go, there's a reason why it's me. And it doesn't get easier for me. So like getting to be called to ask to play Mr. 3 in One Piece. You go, wow, there's a tradition of Japanese actors, English speaking actors, Spanish speaking actors, who have brought this character to life in the anime for now decades, right? Well, am I going to do what they did? Or am I going to find David in Mr. 3? That does give me a sense of feeling like I am part of it now. Comics or screenwriting is taking that a step further, where now I'm getting to have this incredibly rewarding but terrifying challenge of being the originator of the character, the world, the plot, the ideas. And, you know, like I said, Leah and I, and all of my collaborators, we love monster, genre, story, drama. But at the end of the day, that's been done. Jules Verne, Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker, they've all done it better than I will. So what do I have to bring to this equation that makes it interesting for you? Me. Like I said, I'm wrestling right now. I'm 51 years old, and I'm trying to understand why people treat each other so horribly. Why do we treat ourselves so poorly sometimes? Why is it so hard to be a human being? And no one has given me a satisfactory answer yet. So I can bring all of those ideas into writing. And luckily for me, I found Leah, and I have other creative partners. Most of what I create is done in partnership. I do nothing in a bubble. Everything I do is collaborative. She just happens to be the person who completes my sentence. Like, we just have this, like, yeah. Thank you.
Le he preguntado cómo es el reto de actuar, que tú representas una idea de un personaje que ha inventado otra persona, frente a él como escritor de cómics, que es él quien tiene la idea, que es el creador del mundo, ¿no? Entonces, claro, tú cuando actúas representas a otras personas, él ha hecho mucho teatro, has hecho obras de Shakespeare, ha habido mucha gente que ha hecho obras de Shakespeare antes, ¿no? Entonces, tienes el problema de que, por ejemplo, si te eligen como el Joker ya fue Jack Nicholson, entonces, ¿cómo vas a hacerlo mejor que Jack Nicholson? Entonces, claro, tienes que confiar en ti mismo. Si me han elegido a mí David como Joker, es porque han visto algo en mí que quieren que traiga ese personaje, ¿no? Entonces, por ejemplo, en el caso de One Piece, yo fui elegido como Mr. 3, el tercero, y claro, hay una tradición de gente que ha sido ya Mr. 3 en los actores de doblaje, los seiyus, en Japón. Entonces, claro, ¿cómo soy yo un Mr. 3 cuando ya ha habido otros antes, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, ante eso tu respuesta es, bueno, tengo que ser yo, David, quien incorpore su personaje a ese personaje. Y con respecto a los cómics, efectivamente es dar un paso más, porque es un desafío aterrador el hecho de ser creador de este mundo. Yo no voy a hacerlo tan bien como evidentemente lo ha hecho Julio Verne, Mariseli, Bram Stoker, han creado mundos mucho mejores que yo. Entonces, ¿qué puedo hacer yo? Yo tengo 51 años, yo no. Y tengo que entender, todavía no entiendo, me hago preguntas por qué la gente se trata tan mal, por qué las personas no son buenas entre ellas. Entonces, he preguntado a mucha gente y nadie me responde. Entonces, la forma de intentar responder esas preguntas es trabajando de forma colaborativa. Él no trabaja en una burbuja, sino en otra gente tan maravillosa como Leah, la de palabras muy bonitas, no quiero reproducirlas todas. Y que me gusta mucho trabajar con ella porque sienten que piensan de la misma forma y pueden construir un mundo así juntos. Te sientes muy completado con Leah. I wanted to ask you, Leah, about the main character of this story. He's not a regular superhero kind of person. He's like not a Captain America, or he's not like the super warrior guy. He's not a Mr. Bison or super He-Man. I wanted to ask you about, can you tell me a bit of the main character in the novel?
The main character who's on the cover is Frankie, and their child, who is 12 years old. And Frankie represents hope in a world that's very scary, and I think very much so the last hope. And I know that so many people, especially now, felt very isolated and very alone. And I think people are resonating with Frankie a lot because there's so much darkness happening right now in the world. I think when you can connect with the main character like that, it resonates through language, through time, through. I mean, that's why characters in like The Last of Us, there's these little inklings of hope through all the darkness. But Frankie, to us, we wanted someone that represented humankind, and we thought someone who is non-binary represents all of us. And a child is like, I think the thing that we always keep within us, that we try to avoid as we get older. But I feel like our true self is our child self. And so David and I wanted a character that represented everyone. So however people choose to see it while reading, if they want to put a gender on Frankie, if they want to put an age on Frankie, they can. But we like kind of leaving them a blank slate to represent hope.
Bueno, le he preguntado sobre Frankie, que es el protagonista de Kingdom of Hearts, que me habla un poco del personaje. Dice que ella representa la última esperanza. En este mundo actual, que hemos hablado antes, hay mucha gente que está sola. Y la idea de este tipo de personaje en este mundo dominado por los monstruos resuena mucho con ellos, ¿no? Tú puedes conectar con ella, nos podemos pensar un poquito en los personajes como The Last of Us, y ella es una luz en la oscuridad, es una de las esperanzas de esta humanidad que es una esclava, es ganado de los monstruos. Y el hecho de ser no binaria es muy importante, porque al ser no binario nos representa a todos. Al ser como un folio en blanco, nosotros podemos insertar lo que queramos de nuestra personalidad allí. También ha mencionado Leah que el hecho de ser joven, porque es tan joven, porque tiene 12 años, es el hecho de que al ser tan joven, cuando nosotros somos jóvenes, es nuestra identidad verdadera. Y que cuando éramos jóvenes era cuando éramos realmente auténticos, ¿no? Entonces también por eso quería que fuera joven, para que también resonara con nosotros mismos cuando éramos más pequeños. And now, before we do a few questions from the public, one or two, I wanted to ask you, you're an actor, so you're excellent selling stuff to people. I want you to sell Kingdom of Hearts to this audience. They already have it. I wanted to convince this audience why they should buy this amazing book. Le he preguntado que os venda el libro.
Kingdom of Earth. From Dark Horse Comics. Created by David Dastmalchian and Leah Kilpatrick. It is a time in the not too distant future when every monster ever imagined in the imaginations of mankind have risen from the sea and the earth. The Spanish monsters, the Japanese monsters, the North American monsters, the English monsters have all risen, and now they are in full battle mode. Sidebar, does anybody here play Magic the Gathering? Imagine every monster ever fighting for control. That's kick-ass. Then you have a story woven in about survival, friendship, finding hope when you least expect it. Our hero, who Leah so perfectly described in Frankie, finds an ally in this terrifying, monstrous world in one of the most beautiful monster depictions I've seen in comics in a long time. The art by the brilliant Sue Lee. If you don't know this name, find her work. She is genius. Sue Lee has done something here that is so beautiful. So even if you don't care for our story, just look at the beautiful artwork, because I promise you'll be very happy. And we want all of your suggestions when the story comes through Spain. What are the monsters? What are the lore? What are the local legends that you want to see brought to the light in the comic? So buy it now. For the
So, bueno, creo que lo habéis entendido, pero bueno, básicamente I'm not an actor, so I won't say it in Spanish. Estamos en un futuro distante. Los monstruos han conquistado el mundo. Se han alzado desde las aguas y desde la tierra. Todos los monstruos que podemos imaginar. Españoles, japoneses, asiáticos, de todo el mundo, y nos han conquistado. Todos los monstruos luchan. Y esta es una historia de supervivencia, de encontrar esperanza, de encontrar aliados. Y nuestra protagonista crítica, que realmente ha escrito Leah, ha encontrado en uno de ellos uno de los mejores monstruos para ser su aliado, y se encuentra un aliado inesperado. Y luego, más allá de eso, ha hablado mucho del arte. Dice que aunque no nos guste la historia, el arte de Sue Lee es una maravilla y que tenéis que comprarlo, aunque no os guste este tema, por el maravilloso arte. Así que bueno, tenemos tiempo para una o dos preguntas de la audiencia. Por aquí.
It's very simple. First of all, happy birthday. As a horror movies lover, yes, of all of the classic monsters, which one is your favorite? And I know, practically, I know your answer. Yes. Yes, I know, but which one is your favorite?
It's actually interesting. It's like this because, of course, Dracula. I want to play Vlad the Impaler. I mean Dracula. I love Dracula, but I think honestly, now I can relate to Dracula in many, many ways because I have been a slave to addiction. I've struggled with addiction my whole life, and not just drugs and alcohol. Addiction is a disease that lives within the DNA, in your bones, in your blood, your spirit. I also sleep in a casket, and I drink blood, so I understand. But the werewolf is also very close to me. Since I was a little boy, I was obsessed with the werewolf, the wolf man. This fear of something that lives within that is monstrous, and how to contain it, or how to live with it, how to accept it, or how to destroy it is, to me, is very fascinating. And I think it's a good question for Leah too. Your favorite monster, because I know the answer. What's your favorite monster?
David Dastmalchian.
Oh!
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, I love that.
That's my favorite. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Ya preguntamos un montón de dicho que de Drácula, que le gustaría ser Vlad, así que if there is any casting director, please, Vlad el Emperador, y que significa también, más allá de que duerme en un ataúd, bebe sangre, por el tema de las adicciones, que ha sido esclavo de las adicciones, no solamente al alcohol y a las drogas, sino a más temas, que es una cosa eso que está, el tema de ser un adicto, es algo que llevas en tu ADN, en tu sangre, en tu espíritu. Pero más allá de Drácula ha dicho que le gustan mucho los hombres lobo, que de pequeños le apasionan a los hombres lobo, y sobre todo el hecho de la idea de que tú como hombre lobo lo aceptas o te enfrentas a ello. Y la pregunta valía cuál es su monstruo favorito, y ha dicho el monstruo de Black Lagoon.
Sí.
Vale. Y tenemos tiempo para una última pregunta. Son dos, tenemos las dos. Venga, las dos y ya nos vamos.
My question is regarding the publisher of Black Horse Comics.
Sí.
What drawn you, or what were the circumstances of you going to that publisher in the comic world in the US?
I've always been a fan. I mean, I've been collecting comics since I was like 11 years old. So at that time, it was Marvel, DC, and then Vertigo started. If you're familiar with Vertigo, was a big deal in independent publishing, and then all of a sudden it was Image, IDW, a bunch of independent, and Dark Horse. To me, was when the independent publishing flourish started in the 1990s. I became very much drawn to what Dark Horse was doing. They seemed to be at the forefront of independent horror comic book publishing. I loved the Cal McDonald stories that Steve Niles was doing with Dark Horse. Loved the Goon. I love Hellboy and all of the, Mike Mignola is his own world in comics. So BPRD, Lobster Boy, Screw on Head, all of that stuff was like, wow. Now, I got lucky because I had an idea for a story that I wanted to tell, and somebody who I was working with knew the head of Dark Horse at the time. So I got to have a meeting. This is in 2017. I was at San Diego Comic-Con. I got to go meet with Dark Horse Publishing, and I pitched an idea for my comic book called Count Crowley. It's a series that I've been doing for many years. It was the first comic I ever got published. And they said yes, and they were wonderful to work with. They paired me with an amazing editor. They paired me with the best artist that I always wanted to work with. And then, since then, the relationship grew. Leah and I did Headless Horseman with Dark Horse for 2 seasons. Obviously now Kingdom. But sometimes I wish it was more interesting. Sometimes it's like, who says yes? Like Image said yes to Knights vs. Samurai. DC said yes to My Creature Commandos. We have a new company working with Panic said yes to our idea accessories. Z2 said yes to my idea through. So all the different comics I do, it's like, who says yes? Who will pay to get the comic made? Yeah.
Le preguntan por qué eligió Dark Horse. Dice que cuando él empezó a hacer cómics primero empezó con Marvel y DC, pero luego aparece Vértigo y luego empieza Dark Horse y muchas más pequeñas compañías más independientes, más pequeñas. Cuando explotaban los 90 le encantó Dark Horse, le gustaba mucho McDonald, Steve Niles, por supuesto Mike Mignola. Hellboy es un mundo, es una leyenda. Y que tuvo mucha suerte porque en la Comic Con de San Diego en 2017 se reunió con la gente de Dark Horse y les dio la idea de que fue su primer cómic, que es Count Crowley, y aceptaron su idea, le pusieron con un genial editor, con los mejores artistas con los que ha podido trabajar, y desde entonces, lleva trabajando con él, llevará 2 temporadas y ha trabajado también con Leah, y dice que la gran pregunta es más de Dark Horse que entonces que la gracia es que le digan que sí, ¿no? Que le ha presentado diferentes proyectos a diferentes empresas, y lo que es más guay es que le puedan decir que sí a sus diferentes ideas que tiene. Y ya la última pregunta, que vamos más de tiempo.
Rápido. Thanks, Leah and David, to be here. Just a quick question. You know you like monsters, fictional monsters, but I will make a bit spoiler because you play a real monster in Prisoners. What are you afraid more? The fictional monster or the real?
Real monsters, 100%. Thank you for the question. The question is, what do we fear the most? Real monsters or fictional monsters? Fictional monsters can be terrifying, obviously. Cthulhu, Leatherface, Freddy, Mr. Hyde, or Dr. Jekyll, or when you read the accessories, Mrs. Hyde or Dr. Jekyll. Jaws. Xenomorphs. Oh my god. So many things have scared me in my lifetime. But nothing scares me more than men in power who are willing to use power to oppress people and scare people and marginalize people because it gives them more power. The fact that historically humans in power, more often than not it seems, are willing to watch entire groups of human beings suffer so that they can feel good about themselves. And I'm not pointing the finger. I've done it in my own weird little ways as a little boy in the schoolyard, when there's something really just terrifying about part of the nature of humanity that seems to keep repeating this cycle of, and if it's women, if it's gays, if it's immigrants, if it's poor people, if it's different religion, I don't understand. It terrifies me. And I think the thing that scares me the most is when I look in the mirror and I see my own ability to be monstrous. Just being totally honest with you. I wish I could say I've lived this life in 51 years without thinking I'm different than others, or that I deserve something different than others, or that other people's suffering isn't matter because it's in another country, another part of this. It scares me much more than like the zombie apocalypse. We can wrap our head around, guys. We know, shoot them in the head, stick together, don't separate, keep the food contained, fucking don't drop the water. Like, we can solve that. Why are fucking fascists still taking control? I don't understand. What do you think?
The same. I'm not.
The same. She's much smarter than me, so she agrees. All right.
Pero muy rápidamente, que la pregunta es que le dan más miedo los monstruos reales o los imaginados. Dice, pues, que puedan miedo los monstruos ficticios, Churu, Freddy, Mr. Hyde, Miss Hyde, en Accessories, Josh. Le dan mucho miedo los xenomorfos, los que cambian de forma, pero nada le da más miedo que la gente con poder, que están dispuestos a utilizar ese poder para oprimir, asustar e marginar a las personas para conseguir más poder. Históricamente los humanos han visto como otros humanos hacen sufrir a otros para su propio beneficio. Él lo ha vivido incluso durante su vida, y luego, claro, dice que lo que él le da más miedo es cuando piensas en la naturaleza humana, que siempre ha sido oprimida diferente. Las mujeres, los gays, los que son de otra raza, de otra religión. Y lo que le da más miedo es cuando se mira en el espejo y piensa que también puede ser un monstruo. Dice, me encantaría decir que tengo 51 años y que soy diferente o que el sufrimiento me es ajeno, pero es parte de su vida. Y eso le da mucho más miedo que luchar contra los zombies, que podemos estar juntos, reunimos agua, le pegamos un disparo y se comienza a solucionarlo. Podemos solucionar eso, pero el hecho de que haya gente peligrosa con poder y que haya fascistas, auténticos monstruos, es lo que realmente le da más miedo. Con esto hemos terminado. Muchísimas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Ahora tenemos una sesión de cima, así que please give huge